Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for being here. It is an honor to have an interview with you today.
It's my pleasure to see you. Thank you.
We will make a different kind of interview, starting from your personal life. Does Walker have a family, and who are the members of his family?
I have several families. I've been married 3 times. My first wife was an American. We were married for, I don't know, 15 years. We had 2 children, both of whom are adults. We got a divorce because she was not terribly comfortable living overseas. Sometimes happens. A few years later, I married for the second time to a Brazilian young lady, and we also had 2 children, both of whom are also adults now, pretty much. I have 5 grandchildren as a result of those 2 combinations.
Yes, 2 marriages.
And about a year ago, I married for the 3rd time because my second wife passed away in 2009. And a year ago, 2 days ago, I celebrated my first anniversary with, I call her a young lady, but she's a grandmother as well.
Okay.
And she's from El Salvador. So I get to practice the only other language I really have, which is Spanish as well as English. And that's my family.
Great to hear that. But did you have any offer from Kosovo to marry any woman from Kosovo?
For the entire 25 years I've been coming here, my Kosovar friends always say, Walker, you know,
we have an offer.
Obviously not when I was married, but when I lost my wife, they told me that I would only be happy if I married an Albanian Kosovar. And unfortunately, they never introduced me to the right person.
Anyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost to anyone, yes.
Okay. But what's your opinion about the Kosovo people? Since you have visited Kosovo lots of times and you've met a lot of people in here.
I think I've not only met all the people here, but I've had my picture taken with all of them as well. For me, but I don't think it's just for me, the Kosovar people are wonderful, incredibly hospitable, incredibly respectful, and so I love coming here and meeting my old friends and meeting new friends. Every time I come here, I meet new people. I tell everyone that I see that the women of Kosovo have come so far in the 25 years I've been involved with Kosovo. There weren't many pretty women back in 1998, but there's a whole couple of generations of young women who've gotten better education, good jobs, other languages, including English. So I'm just very comfortable in Kosovo.
That makes you feel great, I guess, after seeing all the bad things that happened to Kosovo's people, and also the war crimes, when you actually was part of seeing what was happening during the war in Kosovo. I want to know more about your daily agenda. What does Walker do in a normal day when he wakes up? What's your agenda for the day?
At home?
You do not have, yes, at home, when you do not have meetings or stuff like that.
I can't say I have a very regular routine. Things have been different for the last year since I'm married again. I spend a lot of time thinking of, for instance, writing the book. I promised the book would come out in 1999 or 2000. Here it is 25 years later, and it has just come out a few days ago. So during that time, I spent a lot of time thinking about and trying to push forward on my effort to write a book. I'm lazy. I'm a procrastinator, and I can always think of reasons to go back to bed or to watch television.
Go back to sleep.
Yeah, I'm a news junkie. I watch the news all the time, and I entertain myself at home. Until I got married a year ago, I was living by myself for
Has things
15
changed?
years. Pardon?
Has things changed after you got married?
Oh.
Your agenda?
Oh, of course. Yes, I get involved with things that going to see my wife's relatives and getting to know a new family and getting to know her friends. Yeah, it's definitely different. But no, I spent a lot of time thinking about Kosovo, thinking about what happened here, thinking about my involvement, thinking about how things have gone well and some things that haven't gone so well. I end up meeting a lot of Kosovar Albanians who come to Washington, and they come to see me. So a lot of Kosovar Albanians have been to my house in Washington, and we talk about the pictures on the wall or the UÇK flag in the corner, things like that. And then we go out to a nearby restaurant. It happens to be a Mexican restaurant. And I at first did not think Kosovar Albanians would enjoy Mexican food, but now I think some of the waiters now speak a few words of Albanian at that restaurant.
There. You've mentioned also your book about Reçak. How did you feel when you finished the book? Because as you said before, you promised to the people of Reçak that you were going to write a book, but that happened years later. How did you make you feel? Did that make you feel that day?
One word: relief. I felt, thank God it's over, that I finished the book, and we were very worried that it was not going to get out in time for the January 15th memorial service at Reçak. I'd been thinking about doing that for 2 or 3 years and never quite made it happen. But this year, thanks to Dukagjini, the publishing firm, Ekrem Luka, the head of the company, they did remarkable things to get the book out on time. I gave them the final copy of the text literally just a few weeks before I was coming over, and somehow they produced the book. So I owe a lot of gratitude towards Dukagjini, the book publishers and the book store here.
Yes, great to hear that. But can you tell me more about the book? Which is your favorite part of that, and what's more special on that pages?
It's more it's a compilation of anecdotes. There's not a very direct line through the book. I tell a bit about my youth, how and where I grew up. I talk a little bit about my family, my education. I talk about my previous assignments in Latin America mostly. And in each of those cases, I give 1 or 2 anecdotes about what impressed me about Brazil, various anecdotes about my career. And then I get a little more serious when I'm talking about my assignment to Kosovo. But before that, when I went to Croatia with the United Nations to head their mission in Vukovar. So the book is, I don't know, it's just a collection of anecdotes. If I'd written a very serious, historical, academic description of Reçak, which I originally thought I was going to do, the book would be 1,000 pages long. But I think I've touched on the things about the incident at Reçak, what it meant to me, what it meant to the people of the village, but also what it meant to the Republic of Kosovo.
Kosovo, right. Can you please mention 3 of your friends from Kosovo that you still have very good relations with? Okay.
At my recent marriage, I had 2 of my best friends who stood up as my best men. One was a young fellow who's with me today, Hassan Salihu. I got to know him 23 years ago when we helped fund and found the university, American University of Kosovo. The other one who was my best man was Florin Krasniqi, who is a businessman in New York City, introduced me to the diaspora in New York City, has introduced me to many, many Kosovar Albanians who are in the United States. Florin and his family are very close to me. This time I came over to see and let people know that I'm a close friend of Behçet Patsoli. I know him also from 2002 when he was very, very helpful in getting the American University of Kosova underway. He built the campus. So those, I guess, would be my closest friends. There's others. Ekram Luka I mentioned. As you say, there
are
to pick out three. It's pretty hard.
Harder, yeah.
But those are my closest friends. And in the U.S., I've got others. I've got a fellow named Sabatin Gashi.
Okay.
And he lives in the Washington area, so I see him a lot. He does a lot for me. There's a number like that.
Plenty of them. We know you visit Kosovo, but do people from Kosovo visit you in the U.S.?
Yes, I think I get telephone calls, for instance, from Sabi Gashi at least once a week saying, oh, we've just heard that a group is coming from some institution here or some purpose. They're coming to Washington. They've heard you're here in Washington. They want to see you. So it seems like every week I meet Kosovar Albanians who come to meet me and see what I'm doing these days.
Okay, I understand. 2 years ago, you've had an interview where you mentioned that no one from the U.S. government, White House, or even the CIA has ever asked you about the Reçak. Has anything changed since then, or it is the same situation still?
When I returned from the OSCE mission, the KVM, Kosovo Verification Mission, an important moment in history had just happened. And I had been here through much of it. I expected to be asked when I got to the State Department, my home for 40 years, what the experience had been like. Who were the good guys? Who were the bad guys?
What did you saw in here?
Yeah, I expected, CIA you mentioned, they would come and talk to me about it. In the last 25 years, no one from any institutions of the government in Washington have asked me anything about what happened here in 1998, 1999.
How do you feel about that?
I'm a little disappointed. I thought they might have been interested in what happened here, according to me. Maybe they'll read the book. I don't know.
Maybe they'll read.
Hopefully. I don't know. I've had very little interaction with the U.S. Embassy here. I've had some disputes with one or two of the ambassadors here. Okay. And Jeff Hovenier, who just left, with him I had a different relationship. He had been here in 1999 and had worked with the KVM from Vienna. And I felt that Jeff understood what had happened here 25 years ago. Most of the ambassadors, most of the people working in the embassy, it's not their fault, but they just weren't here and saw how bad things were before the liberation.
When the things were happening, so maybe that's why they...
And unless you have personal experience, it's kind of hard to understand the situations. But the fact that no one officially in Washington has asked me anything about Kosovo is a little disappointing.
You find it disappointing?
Yeah.
But I want to know who was the first person who offered you to come here in the Kosovo for your mission? And why they chose you?
Back in 1998.
Back in 1998.
Madeleine Albright, actually, she had picked me out of Latin American affairs to go to Croatia. And I was picked for that assignment because I came out of trouble spots in Latin America. I came out of El Salvador, where there had been a long civil war, and I had helped participate in bringing peace to the country. So Madeleine Albright told me that she had picked me to go to Croatia because I had experience in a war zone. And my colleagues who were European oriented. You know, they lived in Paris or Rome, and they didn't know much about war. So when I finished in Croatia, I went back to the Department of State, thinking I would go back to Latin America, but Madeleine Albright, for some reason, thought of me when the OSCE said they were putting together a mission. The story I heard, whether it's true or not, was that Slobodan Milosevic accepted my nomination because he thought I was a friend of the Serbs because of what I did in Croatia, which was to protect the Serbs.
Okay.
You know, he miscalculated.
He was happy for that.
He was miscalculated, but he welcomed me to come and start the mission here. I think he also wanted an American to be in that position. I think he thought I would not be as knowledgeable about the situation here. You know, the French have their history of relationships with the Balkans, the Brits, everybody in Europe. And I guess he thought an American coming in would be kind of ignorant of what was happening here and that he could persuade me to be a friend of the Serbs.
And help them go through that.
Yeah.
2 days ago, you also visited Poklek.
Yes.
So what did you saw in there? And you've mentioned in an interview that we had actually together that what you saw in Poklek was more brutally than what it happened in Reçak. So how did you feel that day?
Well, I did explain that to you, I believe, and that was why one of the reasons we're having this conversation, because you asked very good questions, and you gave me the chance to explain that, yeah, there were differences between the two massacres. In Reçak, it was the men and boys of the village being gathered up and taken off and executed. I don't want to say that is any more humane than what happened as we discussed yesterday. But in the village here yesterday, you were talking about more victims, and you were talking to real brutality, hand grenades and all sorts of crimes committed against the village, not just executing the young men and boys. So there was a distinction, but in my opinion, they were both serious war crimes.
I understand. So let's go to Kosovo's post-war development. What progress has been made and what challenges remain still? What's your opinion?
What progress has been made, in my opinion, is a miracle. I came back here immediately after liberation, 1999. I brought my then wife with me, my Brazilian wife, just to show her you know, the destruction, to show her what had taken place here that I had tried to describe to her, but I knew she could not understand it without coming here. And this was shortly after the international community was telling the Albanian refugees in Macedonia and in Albania, stay where you are in the refugee camps. We'll fix it up and then you can come in. Well, the minute liberation was declared, everyone came out of the refugee camps immediately and came back here to start rebuilding their houses, their villages, their lives. Between liberation and the Declaration of Independence, there was tremendous progress. But it wasn't until independence that things really took off. And every time I come here, I see physical differences, improvements, progress, but it's more in the institutions that are being built here. Every institution, public institution, private institutions, private enterprise, everything has just gone up. As I say, it's a miracle. I come here and I insist Kosovo, the Republic of Kosovo, is the example of the best democracy in Europe, if not the world. And that has been created in a mere 15 years, 16 years. So when you ask me what has been done in terms of progress, I have to say something I would never have imagined could have happened so fast and in such a positive direction. Are there still problems? Of course.
What are the challenges that you think that still remain?
The first, in the aftermath of a war, such as in El Salvador, such as here, conflicts wherever they break out, the most difficult thing to put in place is reconciliation between the people who have been fighting against each other or hating each other. And that's particularly true here. And, you know, that has not obviously taken place, for which I give most of the blame to Belgrade for promoting nationalism in the north of Kosovo, where I'm sure there are some very good families, Serb families, who, if they understood what Kosovo was, would be happier living in Kosovo as Kosovo Serbs rather than going and moving to Serbia, where the freedoms, the liberation, the democracy is not as evident as it is here.
What is it here?
So I think reconciliation is still to be achieved. That's obvious. There are other, you know, things.
Challenges.
Yeah.
I understand, but let's talk about the Hague trials and their impact. Do you believe the former KLA leaders will receive a fair trial, given the political sensitivities involved? What's your opinion on that? Not
very simply, no. They're not receiving a fair trial. They are being held, they're being detained, and have been for over 3 years, after an investigation that took place over 10 years. This is ridiculous. The Nuremberg trials, which were very, very serious crimes against humanity and war crimes, took place much more rapidly. My opinion of what's happening in The Hague is that it's a travesty of justice. You know, in the United States, we preach and we often try to demonstrate that a person is innocent until proven guilty. These people are being held, at least 3, 4 Albanians are being held with very vague accusations, with claims that if they were liberated to prepare their defense, they might intimidate witnesses or they might escape or something like this. Hashim Thaçi, Kadri Veseli, and Jakub Krasniqi, the 3 that I know best, as soon as the accusations were made against them, they resigned their positions and they went to The Hague and said, okay,
we're here.
We're here. Give us a trial. 3 years later, they're still sitting in detention. I've asked to see them. Oh, it's very difficult. You know, they might do this.
You couldn't see them?
No, I haven't been able to see them. I went to The Hague to testify against Slobodan Milosevic. The war crimes he and his colleagues committed, enormous. A whole nation, a whole country, a whole population were the victims of his war crimes. I went there, the trial took place very quickly. I was given every opportunity to be questioned by him, to present my side of the Reçak story. It was what I considered a very judicial process, looking for guilt or innocence of Slobodan Milosevic. This is a totally different process. I do not think it is producing justice. I think it is producing injustice, and I don't understand it. Reçak, I've been told we know who the commander was under the killings in Reçak.
Yes.
Has he been prosecuted? What about those who were involved in the other killings?
You actually also asked them if they knew the names. If they knew the persons who were trying to kill the persons in there. But
they're, you know, the 3 that are there right now who were former leaders of the KLA, they were not leaders of a perfect pyramid in which the chain of command, all orders came from them down to the lower ranks, and therefore atrocities were committed after the war. that's ridiculous. The KLA was not that well organized. Regional commanders were the ones who made the decisions. On the Serb side, the Serb army, the Serb police had a chain of command, and you know who was in command every minute of every day. And yet they can't find who actually ordered Reçak, who ordered the killing of the Yashari family.
Yes.
So it's a totally different situation. And I just don't understand it. I do not understand what's going on in The Hague. I have had a request put in for me to give my testimony. One, because I'm an old man, I might die before we get to the defense part of the trial. No permission to make an exception.
Not even permission to make an exception.
So,
do they have any reason for that?
They just say the trial is going on, and first the prosecution, they rest the case, and then the defense comes in. Okay, I might not be
able to
with us at that point. So I don't know. It's a funny way to produce justice.
It's a funny way. But while we are talking about the justice, you said in Poklek that Kosovo didn't make it. So what does that mean? You were talking about the justice for the war crimes. What should Kosovo do?
Well, I know there is a prosecutor here who is looking for accusations being brought against some of these people we're talking about, the commander at Reçak, the commander in the Yashari family killings, the commander of the massacre that we described yesterday.
Yes.
And I'm sure they're being very careful to make sure they get it exactly right for prosecution. But those they are going to be prosecuting are probably going to be prosecuted in absentia because they're all in Serbia. Will they be turned over for a trial? I very much doubt it. So I'm saying that for a democracy to function, I think the most important ingredient is an administration of justice system that produces justice. What I have seen here is that within Kosovo, justice is being produced. People have traffic accidents or burn down their neighbor's house or something like that. They will be brought to trial. Yeah, they will be afforded defense and all the elements of a justice system that works. I always refer to the fact that I am told that your police, who have only been working for 15 years, are among the most respected institutions in the country. That tells me something about justice being observed. I drive around and my person that's driving the car, he stops for pedestrians. If the police wave him down, he stops. He's polite. That is one indication that the justice system is working. People have confidence in the justice system. But again, if you're looking to prosecute potential criminals who are in Serbia or in other parts of the world, it's much more difficult.
I understand. Thanks for the answers, but I want to know something. First of all, I hope that you live for long and have good health, but you've mentioned that after you die, you want to be buried here in Kosovo. Is that true?
It's true. I have made that statement. You have to understand that I was asked by a journalist or someone who was talking to me. This is a year or so ago. And they asked me about my connection with Reçak and Kosovo, and I must have said something along those lines, that I would not be displeased. That became a story here, much to my surprise.
Yes.
And so now I'm asked by all journalists, including yourself, I have talked to my wife, and she says she understands why I would be planted next to the statue at Reçak. I have talked to my children. They are of mixed opinions, say, well, Dad, we would have to pay our respects to you afterwards. We would have to travel across the Atlantic. So I don't think much about what happens to me after I pass away. Whatever happens to me will be decisions made by other people, not by me.
Not by you.
But, you know, I can see why I would be pleased to be buried at Reçak.
I understand. Your emotional connection to Kosovo is clear, like crystal, but how do you want to be remembered by the people of Kosovo?
I'd like to be remembered as someone who came here not knowing much about the situation, who came as a normal person with normal human emotions when seeing what I saw, and who would react to it as I reacted to it, which was just to tell the truth about what they had seen. I am no special person. There are many other people around who would have done what I did. Maybe not too many diplomats, not too many international representative of governments, because many who came here, you know, came who didn't want to offend their government that sent them here, so some of them didn't speak up. But most of the people who were here with me on the KVM agreed with what I said. They saw the same thing. So I want to be remembered as just sort of an American who came here and was put in a circumstance that I had not expected, and I reacted as a normal human being would react when seeing how the Albanians here were treated by Belgrade. You know, I wish I could go to Serbia and meet Serbs, because I've met a few in the years since Reçak, you know, and I find many of the people I've met very similar to Albanians here. But when I hear about the people in the government in Belgrade who are still talking about Reçak as though it was a big lie,
you're disappointed.
Yeah, I'm disappointed again, yes. Yeah.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for being here and having this interview with us. We do appreciate this. Thank you very much for everything that you've done for Kosovo and all the stuff that you were trying to document what really happened in 1998.
Thank you. I was hoping you would ask me why I'm wearing this little button.
Well, I wanted to ask you, but well that you actually mentioned that. Why is that?
Well, just before this interview, I went to visit the organization here. I'm not sure the title of the organization, but their organization is working in benefit of the victims of the war, especially women who were the victims of sexual violence. And I noticed mostly women, and most of them were wearing this little button. And so I asked, what does that stand for? And they explained it's a flower, and it represents, in a very serious way, what they stand for. I was, you know, really quite amazed to hear that the, I don't know what her title is, president or chairman of the organization, has been put forward as a in the Nobel Peace Prize awards. And it took me a little bit by surprise, because this is something I think Kosovo should be promoting to the world. You promote occasionally your athletic stars, the young lady who won the gold medal in judo at the Olympics,
My Linda.
some men who are soccer stars, that sort of thing. But here's a woman who's up for the Nobel Peace Prize. That's something that should be projected. And this is an area where I criticize this government, previous governments. There's not enough effort made or resources put into telling the world what Kosovo is all about. As I say, it's a miracle. It's a very positive story. You've got examples like this, and we don't hear about it in the United States. And I pay a lot of attention to news out of Kosovo, and I didn't know until I got here about this nominee for the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, I've been told that one of her competitors is Donald Trump. That's an interesting comparison. So I would be incredibly pleased if she were to win the Nobel Peace Prize for her organization.
I understand also, you've mentioned the day in Poklek that Kosovo has a lot of museums, a lot of documents and stuff like that, but they still don't do so much to let the world know what really happened. So we have the museums, we have the books, we have some documents. What more can we do? Use the media to represent what really happened in here and show the real faces of the people who actually did those crimes in Kosovo.
Well, I have, every time I come here, I receive books or I receive academic studies, and the vast majority of them deal with the atrocities. They deal with, you know, pictures of dead bodies, pictures of the victims of the crimes, and I understand that. Like I say, I have 20 different books with horrible pictures. I understand that. I think it was needed to be presented. But now I believe is the time to promote the positive things of Kosovo, the very positive things. We've talked a little bit about it.
Yes.
To say that here in the Balkans, known around the world for wars going back hundreds of years, and here is an example of the very best of democracy being established in 15 years due to the efforts of the Kosovar Albanians, Kosovars in general. I think Kosovo is going to be an example for the neighboring countries. You know, some of them are doing good things as well, but I think it's going to, if promoted properly, it's going to give the world a different impression of what the Balkans is all about. And so far, not much has been done on that positive news. So I blame you guys.
Yes, no
Get the
problem.
story out.
Okay, we will do that, and
really
I hope
should.
that one day we can do our best to share the best things that Kosovo has done. Also remembering all the bad things that has happened, but all the good things that are still going on. So thank you very much for this interview, Mr. Ambassador. Anything else you want to share with us?
No, just how happy I am to be here. How pleased I am that I was able to ask to be interviewed by you, because yesterday you asked me some good questions. You gave me the chance to explain, and I said, I want an interview that goes into these questions a little deeper. So thank you very much for taking the time to interview me.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you in here.
Thank you very much.